been starting to do my fall cleanup, and my rosemary is getting a little out of hand. Started growing over into my pond water, which is not good. So I needed to trim some of it back. Generally, you do not want to cut into the wood stock, but in this case I had to in order to prune it back. For harvesting it, you just want to get this nice green new growth and trim that. Here's some that I've already cut off the main plant, but I don't want to keep all of this. Some of it's dried and dying and isn't very good for keeping. So I'm going to go in here and find these nice healthy green shoots and trim all those off, and then throw the rest in the compost pile, and then we're going to dehydrate them. I've now cut the rosemary. These are little pieces I'm just going to stick in there. Now you can take and pull, oh, got a little spider there. You want to make sure there's no spiders or bugs or spider webs in it before you actually dry it. At this point you can either take all these off the stem now, or what I prefer to do is to place the whole thing in the dehydrator. This is my dehydrator. I love this thing. I use it all the time. One of the things that I do, just to protect it, is on the very bottom I'll put one of these solid mats. What that does is just keeps it just keeps stuff from falling down into here and maybe possibly getting into the inside of it. So that's just as a protectant. Then I like to use these mats for rosemary and some of my other dried herbs. There are different kinds of mats that you can get. There's also these kind. They're about the same thing. It's just a personal preference. It allows air to circulate around it, but yet keeps the small particles from falling down in. So what I'll do is I'll just take these and lay these all around until I fill up the dehydrator. One thing I should point out, most herbs that you harvest, the best time to do it would be in the early morning after the dew has dried up, but before it gets too hot. That way you've got the most amount of the medicinal and herbal properties within the herb still. Okay, now I got everything in there. Now with herbs, you don't want the temperature on your dehydrator to be too high. So I'm turning this all the way down to 95 degrees. The heat will kill a lot of the good stuff in the herbs, so you don't want that heat. The only time you want that heat is usually for things like meat, which I'm not doing right now. So just some information about rosemary. Rosemary is actually good for the circulatory system and the nervine system, which means it's calming, also on your digestive system, especially for emotional or stressful situations. It can help calm your nerves a little, or it can help calm your stomach a little bit. Rosemary essential oils has also shown to be a stimulant for hair follicles and circulation in the scalp. Thus may be treated for, or used as a treatment for, like premature balding and stuff like that. Some of the ways that you can use rosemary is in a tincture. There's lots of videos out there to show you how to make tinctures, but I'll also be making mine eventually, how I like to make my tinctures, which isn't always the same as what you see on all those other videos out there. The recommended dose would be 1 to 2 milliliters 3 times a day. You can also make an infusion, which most people refer to this as an herbal tea. Although it's technically not a tea, it's made the same way. You take some of the fresh or ground herbs and you just pour boiling water over it and then let it steep for about 5 to 10 minutes. Then you can add a little bit of honey or something to sweeten it. So that's another way that you can take it, or you can just cook with it. Okay, well, this has been going for a couple days. It was probably fine yesterday, but I was too busy doing other stuff in order to complete this. So now we're going to take all these and we're going to remove all the green pieces and throw away the stems, and I'll show you how I process that. Okay, this part is a little hard to do while I'm holding the camera, but what I'm going to do is grab it at the very top here with one hand, and then I'm going to pull all the way down in the opposite direction. See how they're pointing up this way? It means I'm going to pull back this way, and I'll just strip all of these rosemary leaves off. Okay, so now I've got all of it off of the stems, but right now they're very long pieces, which makes it difficult to measure, and also I like to put it in my spice shaker so that I can shake it on my pizza and stuff like that. So I'm going to put it in my food processor and just chop it up a little bit. One side note, if you notice, rosemary in this is not as green as the fresh. One of the reasons for that is sunlight. If this is in the sunlight, it will cause it to fade. It also causes it to lose its nutrients and some of its flavor. So try to keep it in a cupboard in a dark location where it's not too hot. Cooler temperatures in the shade is the best. Okay, so now I'm going to put all of my rosemary into this food processor so that it can be chopped up. Okay, so now it's all in there, so let's chop it up. The lock on mine is broke, that's why I have to do that. Now the longer you pulse it or make it run, of course the smaller the pieces will be, but I don't want them into a powder, so I'm going to stop there. Just the way I like it, and oh, it smells so good. And that's how easy it is to harvest your rosemary. Thanks for watching. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments.